On today's video, why aren't these popular anymore? Hey there, outdoor YouTubers. It's Dave Knetter from Knetter's Practical Outdoors. And I know a few of you guys out there that have been watching the channel for a while might recognize some of these devices because I've kind of had them hanging in the background of my studio here for a while now. So instead of getting to chew a Copenhagen, he gets a big lip full of rotten waxworms. One thing to keep in mind, if you do use this for minnows and you fish with children or drunk people, is that they are going to try to drink out of the spout at the bottom. And, you know, I would suggest putting a warning on it like I did. Even if some of you guys have never used one of these before, you've probably seen them hanging in your dad's basement. Maybe you saw one in your grandpa's garage, you know, something like that. Well, if some of you guys aren't too familiar with these are a warming seat cushion designed to be used in the outdoors. Now these orange vinyl type heat cushions, you know, thermal seat, hot seat, heat seat, these devices were very popular in the 60s and 70s, alright? But they've kind of largely been replaced by little different styles. I see a few more of these around these days, kind of these nylon-y ones. And probably the most popular type that people are using now, you know, like for hunting and fishing, are these foam ones, you know, this memory foam or gel cell foam. You know, these have kind of taken over the market in outdoor seat cushions. But these old orange vinyl type thermal seats are still quite functional. First of all, you know, because they're kind of vinyl, they're largely waterproof, so you're not going to get a wet butt. Another cool feature that most of these old orange vinyl hot seats came with was this belt clip, okay? So you could clip this to the backside on your belt, you could clip it to your pants, walk around hands-free, and as soon as you sat down, boom, there was your nice vinyl heat cushion right under your butt, right where it needs to be. Another pretty cool feature about these old vinyl hot seat cushions is many of them came in a nice bright hunter's orange, okay? So when you got this clip to your backside, it's very unlikely you're going to get your butt shot, right? So that kind of brings us back to the question, why aren't these more popular today? Now, I do know that they manufacture and still sell some cushions that kind of look like these, right? But they're not nearly as popular as they were in the 60s and 70s. Well, let's take a look at the suggested uses that are written right on the cushions themselves, okay? This one here actually says hunting, fishing, cold cars, and football games. All right? Now, the one that kind of jumps out at me is the cold cars, right? And if you're a little bit on the younger side, certainly younger than me, that may seem kind of strange. But I will tell you, back in the 60s and 70s, when these were pretty popular, cars did not blow heat like they do today, okay? Cars back then were a lot bigger, the engines were bigger, the interiors were bigger, and, you know, if you were living in a kind of a cold climate and you were going for like a 30-minute ride in the middle of January, there's a good chance that your car would not warm up at all on the inside. Okay, I'm sure some of you guys can kind of relate to that. Nothing like the cars that they build today. You know, today you hop in a car, you know, even if it's 10 degrees out, middle of January, you turn it on, and in 10 minutes it's blowing hot air on you, and it's really a non-issue. But back in the 60s and 70s, you know, cold cars were actually kind of an issue. And then, like I said earlier, this one actually said football games on it also. Okay, and this one actually says sporting events. All right, and you know, I can kind of see that, right? If you're taking in a playoff game in January at Lambeau Field, that aluminum bench can be pretty cold. So I can see where one of these would be pretty handy, right? And then this one here, this one actually doesn't like spell out the suggestions, but it kind of has pictures, right? You know, it has like a picture of a deer, it has a picture of an ice fisherman, some ducks if you're duck hunting, and then it does actually show a picture of a football player. But you know, one thing that's kind of curious, this football player actually has a star on the side of his helmet. Okay, so I think that's kind of insinuating that this football player is a Dallas Cowboy. Yeah, because I don't think there's really a whole lot of need to have one of these heat cushions if you're watching a football game in Texas. So I kind of think what the manufacturers were doing by making the football player a Dallas Cowboy is they were kind of saying, hey, Dallas Cowboy fans, you know, you might want to pick up one of these heat cushions for when you come up to Lambeau Field to get beat. But I do think the real popularity with these back in the 60s and 70s was with ice fishermen and hunters, right? Okay. Now, if you've ever hunted with one of these, and I have, I did when I was quite young. When I first started deer hunting, I actually used one of these. And I'll tell you, they're not real quiet, okay? And that's kind of why I got away from using these when I deer hunted. You know, I kind of imagine, you know, over the years, all the hunters, you know, that have used these before, I gotta believe that this scenario was played out a few times where guy's sitting there and it's like, oh, there's a buck, and you kind of shift your weight a little bit and you go to bring your gun up and crinkle, 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 and the buck's gone. So, yeah, I never really did like using these for deer hunting. I always kind of thought they were a little on the noisy side. But why aren't these more popular with ice fishermen, right? Okay, you know, back to the pictures. Got a picture of a dude ice fishing. Looks like he's staying warm. You know, on this one, got another picture of a guy sitting there ice fishing. Seems like he's having a good time, right? So why aren't these more popular with ice fishermen? Well, I'll be the first to admit, you know, I ice fish every winter, and I have not used one of these in over 20 years. And probably the reason I'm not using them is probably the same reason you're not using them. The technology of the clothes that they make today is so good, right? You guys with your ice fishing suits, the bibs, the parkas, all that, the whole 9 yards, they make that stuff so warm and so waterproof these days that, heck, you don't need to have this orange vinyl pumpkin looking thing, you know, trailing around behind you on your butt to stay warm and dry, right? But I've always been kind of fascinated by these old vinyl heat cushions, right? You know, like this one here, this one's a real old school one, right? This one's not even orange, right? This is red. And this one is quite old. I think this probably, you know, kind of came out before, like, you actually had to use hunter's orange, you know, when you're out hunting. That's why I think this one's just kind of red. But I've always been kind of fascinated, you know, with back to the pictures, right? Like this one's got all these flames and stuff. And some of the statements, like, it's magic, all right? And again, this one just says, hold between your hands and feel the heat. You know? you know, it starts to warm up after a while, I guess, but I wouldn't call it magic, okay? And this one kind of says the same thing. Hold your hand on the seat, feel it start heating, okay? And I'll admit, initially it actually feels cold, okay? So, I don't know. When they put those statements on them, I think the marketing department, might have been taking a few liberties there, but whatever. But I'll tell you what, when I was a little kid, ice fishing with my dad, I wanted these statements to be true. I wanted these pictures to be true, okay? I wanted this thing to feel like flames. I wanted to be able to squeeze it between my hands and feel the heat. I wanted it to be magic. So I do have some different memories as a little kid, ice fishing with my dad, using these vinyl heat cushions, okay? And, I did write a story about one of those memories, okay? And it did get published in the most current issue of In-Fisherman magazine, all right? This is the December, January, February 2020 edition of In-Fisherman. So, any of you guys that read In-Fisherman, stories on the back cover, check it out, leave some comments, tell me what you think about it, okay? And, any of you guys out there that have experiences with these vinyl heat cushions, leave some comments below too. I'd be curious to hear from you guys. But like I said earlier, I've always kind of been fascinated, with the pictures and the comments on these old vinyl heat cushions. I've always thought they've been pretty neat. So, I think at some point this winter, I need to grab one of these. I need to grab a 5-gallon pail. I need to grab a hand auger and go out ice fishing, right? Just for old time's sake. I think I need to do that. But anyways, guys, hey, remember to hunt, fish, laugh, repeat. This is Dave Knetter from Knetter's Practical Outdoors. Hey, thanks for watching and God bless.